Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This video is for the experiments which comes after the midterm. After midterm, there are a number of equipments that we've covered together. Two-stage reciprocating compressor, three-stage reciprocating compressors, and the differences between them, the semi-sealed horizontal compressor and the completely sealed horizontal compressor, loop compressor, right? This is another three-stage reciprocating compressor, on and off cycle compressor. This is the on and off cycle compressor, and the loading and unloading mechanism, which is a system or a mechanism installed on the top of an equipment or any equipment, a reciprocating compressor equipment, to time the system when they should be on and when they should be off. We will speak about the differences and the whole parts in next video. For the two-stage reciprocating compressor, just like this, or this one, or even this one. First things that you need to notice is that the cylinder size difference between them, this is bigger than that one, and in here you have a filter in one side. That means it's the first stage. The size difference between the first and second will determine that you have two-stage reciprocating compressor. Components just like the single stage twin cylinder, the compressor that we have opened before and discussed before, starting with the flywheel as a prime mover, which will be connected to a motor, turbine, or a generator, which leads the crankshaft. It will be connected directly to the crankshaft casing over here. This is the crankshaft casing. In here we have the first cylinder, filter, air filter. The cylinder is divided into two areas. Cylinder head, this becomes the cylinder head, and this is the cylinder block. Similarly in the other side, this is cylinder head, and this is the cylinder block. This is the crankshaft casing. This is the crankshaft casing. The crankshaft casing has an oiler over here and a drain port which you can drain the oil from. In this compressor, we have a safety relief valve, and then we have the type of cooling system is an intercooler. So intercooler, we said it is the cooling system that comes between the stages from the first to the second stage. This type of intercoolers is fence type. The other components like pistons and the valves and everything is very much similar to the compressor that we have opened before. This is another example of a two-stage reciprocating compressor. We have filter over here. That means this is the area where we have the first stage. So here is the first stage, here is the second stage. Air enters from here through the filter to the first stage, the piston over here. After that, after they get compressed, they will move through the intercooler, which is the fence type, as we discussed before. From there they will go to the second stage. From the second stage they will go to the outside through the aftercooler. Again, it is a fence type. We have a flywheel over here, we have an oiler over here to fill up the oil, and then as we have a side glass to check the level and the condition of oil. The type of valves over here is the finger valve, and they are very similar to the previous equipment. So again, cylinder head, this is cylinder block, and this is the crankshaft, totally the crankshaft casing. Here we have a three-stage reciprocating compressor. Again, it's very much similar to single and double. Now we will cover the parts and the similarities and the differences between it and the other compressors. Now in here, in the first look, you can see that this piston or this cylinder has a filter. That means this is the first cylinder, and the size of the pistons or heads are different. So this one seems big, this one seems very small, and this one seems medium. So this is the first, which is LPC. You can consider this one to be HPC1 and HPC2 and HPC2. Now the filter components, we have filter, we have cylinder head, cylinder block, right? Again here we have the second stage cylinder head and cylinder block. In the third stage, similar, we have cylinder head and cylinder block in this area. What we have here in our three-stage reciprocating compressor is that the first two cylinders are piston, the third one is plunger. Okay, other differences now, this is called the dipstick. Function of dipstick to check the level and the condition of oil. It could also be an oiler, so you can fill the oil in here. Again, we have a flywheel, right? We have drain port over here. This is for aftercooler, which we will discuss now. We said that intercoolers and aftercoolers can be either fins type or tube type, right? So between stages we call it intercooler, and at the end, after the last stage, we call it an aftercooler. So between the first stage and second stage, we have tube type intercooler. This is a tube type intercooler. So it comes here and it will take many turns, and then they will enter to the second stage. From the second stage discharge, it will leave again. If you follow the line, it will go to the other intercooler, right? Which also a tube type. So what happens is that in the first stage, when air enters, it will enter to cylinder block number 1, which is considered to be LPC. From there, they will move through the, after they get compressed, they will move through the tube intercooler to the second stage. They will get compressed again, then they will move to the tube intercoolers again over here. But before they join to the third stage, they will go to something called a moisture separator. There must be a tank over here or a cup over here to isolate the moistures from the compressed gas. Okay, from that they will go, after the compressed gas or air is cleaned from any moistures, they will go through this pipeline to the third stage, which is considered to be a plunger. All valves, notice that all valves are combined type of valve. So it is it can be annular, it can be channel, or it can be both. Okay, so here we have plunger. From there they will go the aftercooler. Sorry, they are disconnected. They will go through the aftercooler. The aftercooler, it's different from the intercooler in which that they are fins type. So they will go with this one, fins type. They will circulate, come somewhere in the middle to here. From here they go to the tank or to the application they supposed to work for. Here we have the semi-hermetic, we call it semi-hermetic and hermetic compressor. We can call semi-sealed, semi-sealed, and sealed compressor. There are 3 types of compressors. They are semi-sealed, just like that. The open type compressor, like this, or like that, or even like that, open type. Okay. We'll talk about the differences right now. The semi-sealed reciprocating compressor, it has a one shaft which will be connected to the motor over here and to the compressor over this side. They all coupled in one shaft. Okay, the inlet of the inlet air comes from here. So air enters from here, right, to a filter. From a filter, it will go all over the compressor, from inside. All over the motor. From there, they will join what they call it, the compressors. We have two compressors or two pistons over here for compression, and they will be discharged from this way. The reason that the air comes from inside, it is to apply some cooling, just like we watched in the video. So it will come and apply some cooling, and from there they will enter to the cylinder head and cylinder block for the gas to be compressed. The sealed compressor, 99.9 I would say, people will throw this one whenever they finish. It has a complete what they call parts, a compressor, a motor, and everything is coupled, is in one side. This type of compressor is very difficult to be maintained, very difficult to be what they call to bring alive again, or to do any kind of maintenance, because they are welded, specially welded. It's very difficult even to do the welding again. It requires some certain conditions to be done. All the compressors you can see here can be used for cooling system, refrigeration system also. So you can find this one in refrigerator or in car AC. This one can be found in the medium size application, also applies for cooling. Similarly, over here we have a single stage semi-hermetic reciprocating compressor. Components, again similar components, general components as we have seen before, regarding the crankshaft, the piston head, the connecting rod, the caps, piston cap, and everything are similar. This is the on and off cycle compressor. We said now we have three systems. This is a very important thing. We have three systems. The first system is the normal system. This system, it's a manual system, or it can be automatically controlled. You can switch it on and off from the control panel, or you can switch it on and off from the field, right? This is one type, which is called an open type or regular type. The other type is the on and off cycle compressor. This one will be switched on and off automatically depending on the pressure setup that you've added in the pressure gauge before. So for example, I made the pressure to maximum to be at 11 or 12 bar, and the minimum to be 5. So what happens over here is that whenever the pressure reaches to 5 bar, the compressor start to work. And whenever it reaches to 11 or 10, to the maximum, that the one that I set, it will be stopped. Okay? The need of this pump, because it's on and off, it doesn't work every 5 minutes. It takes time for the compressed gas to be refilled again. So this type of compressor is used, for example, in car maintenance shop and so on, and painting. They can be used in painting. This is different from the third system, which is the loading and unloading mechanism, which we need the system to give an instant pressure. So maybe the requirement or need of pressure is the time period is very short. So in that case we use the loading and unloading mechanism. Let me make it easier for you. Now, for long time period between the charge and discharge again, or stop and work again, or start again, if the period was too long, then we use the regular compressor. If the time period is medium, we are talking about an hour, 2 hours, maybe we can use the on and off cycle compressor. If we need an instant pressure to be there at almost of the time, so we're talking about every 5 minutes, every 1 minute, every 2 minutes. If the time period is short, Then we use the loading and unloading mechanism, which is installed in the top of a single stage, can be installed in a piston pump, a reciprocating piston pump, any reciprocating piston pump. Now let's discuss the on and off cycle compressor. In here we have the similar components in general, starting from the motor side. So we have a motor, junction box, motor. It will be connected to the compressor, which is in over this side by means of belt and pulley. Over this area over here we have filter is here, cylinder head, cylinder block, crankshaft casing. This is the oiler, and this is the side glass to check the level and condition of oil. And on the bottom here we have the drain port, oil drain port. Remember, an important point is that the motor, now one of the routine condition or routine maintenance that needs to be carried over this area is to check the tensioning of the belt over inside that, as I showed you in the class. If the belt was too tight or too loose, the only part that moves in the whole system or in the whole set is the motor. You can remove the bolts over here and you can shift it right or left for tightening or loosening. On the right side over here we have the pressure gauge, and then we have the pressure switch, right, for on and off, and then we have the main discharge port, the main discharge port over here. Again, I forgot to say, this is the safety relief valve to release an excess pressure for safety. Okay, and here you can set up the maximum and minimum pressure over this area, over this knob. Okay, so this is the main discharge line, and this is the regulated discharge line. In here you can regulate, you have a pressure gauge over here, you can regulate the amount of pressure that must be carried on here. So to recap, a kind of three or a number of maintenance that we can carry over here is the pressure gauge. You need to make sure that the pressure gauge is reading correctly. Number two, we need to make sure that the belt tensioning is correct, in correct order. Number three, we need to make sure that the tank does not contain any fluid, does not contain any water or moisture. So we need from time to time to drain the machine from the drain port. We need to completely drain it and make sure that it does not contain any fluid, because we know because of corrosion you might have some problem in the future. Okay, this is regarding this compressor. Last but not least, we have the loop compressor. Loop compressor can be either bi or tri loops. This is the tri. If we have two, then it becomes bi. The loop compressor, this is a general design of a loop compressor. I will speak about parts and how they function. Now, you might have the fluid to enter from here, right, and this area is closed, and then the fluid, compressed gas, will go from the bottom. Or you might have section from here, from the top, okay, and discharge from this one, or the opposite. Okay, so this might be a section manifold, or from here to here, and this is discharge, or a discharge can be from the bottom. This is the drive rotors. This is drive rotors, in which we can run them together. The part which is responsible for preventing any entanglement between the rotors is, in the other side, the helical gears. We call them as timing gears. These are timing gears. Type of gears is helical gears, where they are cut in angle. They are more smooth and more quiet. Okay, so this is the part which is responsible for the timing between the loops, so they don't entangle with each other. The reading that you might be asked to take is the clearance between the casing and the rotor, or between rotors themselves. When we get, for example, in this area, two rotors very close to each other, and then we can measure the gap over here. Now the measurements can be done in different ways. It can be done for example, if I want to take casing and rotor, I can take it in this area over here, or I can rotate this one a little bit and I can take the reading somewhere over here, or I can take it somewhere maybe in this area, the smallest area, smallest gap. Similarly, for in between the rotors, I can take it at any place along the loops. This compressor is meant to be a rotary compressor which goes under the positive displacement, positive displacement compressors.